Hello YouTube and welcome to the nation of free to play. I'm Mr. Mondstadt and the special program livestream for Genshin's version Luna VII aired today, and aside from the trailer and the hype for that, we will also get 3 new characters with the upcoming update: Prune, Lohen and Nicole. In this video I will go over their kits, talk about the rerunning units Durin and Mavuika, and will give you my F2P pull priority list for various account scenarios, so make sure to stick around till the end. First up, let's talk about one of the most anticipated 5-stars in the game, Nicole. Nicole is the first Hexen Circle character that will be playable and is a pyro shielder / attack buffer. How does she work? As a catalyst user, her normal attacks are infused with pyro, but you should not be using her normals anyway, so we can skip those. The most important talent of her kit is her elemental skill. With that, Nicole will create a shield and deal a small hit of AoE pyro damage. On top of that, she will grant your party member a special effect that will increase their attack based on Nicole's own stats and talent investment. This sounds pretty simple, but what does it mean in practice? Well, unlike Bennett's Circle, which only buffs the active character in his burst, Nicole's attack buff applies to your entire party and is not bound to a circle or any kind of area. This is especially valuable for attack scaling off fielders and sub DPSs who do not snapshot, as they can benefit a lot from Nicole's buff. As an example, Fischl's Oz or Shangling's Paronado do snapshot a buff, which means that if you cast these abilities inside Bennett's Circle and then swap to the next character, they will snapshot the moment they were cast and benefit from the attack buff. However, Hoyo has not really given us any characters who can do that recently, which is why Durin, Emily, Inefa and other off-fielders don't really profit from having Bennett in the party. With Nicole, this changes as her buff applies to every party member at the same time. Plus, Nicole's shield should give you enough defensive utility for your party as well, so that you don't need to run a healer. Since Nicole only seems to care about her attack, you do not need to build crit on her, and her shield strength will also scale off her attack, which will make it very tanky and comfortable. Moving on to her elemental burst, Nicole deals AoE pyro damage and switches to a special mode, which allows her to summon projections. These projections do not apply an element, but perform coordinated attacks based on your active character. Their damage scales with your active character's stats, not Nicole's, and their damage counts as elemental damage of your active character as well. So if you play Varka as a DPS with Nicole, they will count as Anemo damage even though not applying Anemo. Also, these projections look different if your on-fielder is a Hexerei character. Overall, the burst sounds less impactful to me, so I would focus on her skill first for the attack buff and shield strength. Nicole's passive talents will show her synergy with Hexerei characters even more. First up, after using her skill, Nicole will observe your active character for 3 seconds. And after the time, your active character, most likely your DPS, will get an additional attack buff on top of the party-wide buff from her skill. However, if your active character is a Hexerei character, they will get that extra buff right away without having to wait for 3 seconds. So Varka or Razor, for example, get the second buff the instant you swap into them, while Mavuika or Arlecchino would only get it after 3 seconds of being on field. With her other passive, when the damage of the nearby active party member's elemental type hits an opponent, Nicole herself will also get this extra attack bonus. For her exploration passive, the mage will work similar to a treasure compass as long as you are not in combat, and with her Hexerei passive, the damage from her burst projections is further increased by Nicole's attack if your active character is a Hexerei character as well. Alright, that was a lot of input, but who is Nicole for? In my opinion, she is useful for many teams, especially Hexerei characters, but other attack scalers will profit from her as well. She won't deal big damage, so don't expect her to carry your teams, but her shield and party-wide attack buff make her pretty versatile. Varka will be getting an upgrade, Lohen will like her a lot, but also Kniech with Emily will benefit quite a bit. Plus, since Nicole applies basically no pyro in a normal rotation, she will not mess up any reactions either, so she might be more versatile down the line as well, but that is just my personal opinion. On her release, I expect her to be in a similar spot to Durin, in the sense that you can run her in many teams, but she will never be the absolute best option outside of Hexerei teams. Still, having a second Bennett might be useful for your account, especially since her attack buff is not energy reliant, which is great for Stygian Onslaught. On top of her, Hoyo also announced 2 new artifact sets for the next version, and one of them is a Hexerei set that basically works like Cinder City and will give you up to 40% elemental damage bonus of the equipping unit's element and the active character's element. So in a Varka team with Nicole, 40% pyro and animal damage bonus. This set is very strong and will also work on other Hexerei units like Fischl, Mona or Durin, but Nicole's overall value should also be seen with that new set in mind. With Nicole out of the way, let's have a closer look at Lohen. Lohen is a cryopolar 5-star and will work as an on-field carry. Against recent speculation, Lohen is actually not a new standard 5-star, but instead a usual limited 5-star. So in case you heard something wrong on the internet, those are the actual information. Let's see how he works. Lohen's normal attacks are up to 5 strikes with his lance, so far so good. His elemental skill is a bit more complicated though. When you use his E, Lohen switches to a special mode, and in that state, Lohen can accumulate joy. Think of it as some sort of points, and he needs these joy points to use his special elemental skill. While Lohen accumulates joy points, nearby party members accumulate will to win, another sort of points. Lohen can use these will to win points to increase the damage from his special elemental skill. So, joy to use his special skill, will to win to make it stronger. How does Lohen get these points though? Great question, glad you asked. He will get joy points by using normal attacks. So you want to use his E and then find a combination out of normal and charge attacks to fill up his joy bar as fast as possible to use his special skill. And after 3 special skills per rotation, you've reached the cap. Again, will to win points come from your party members' damage, which means you want strong off-field damage dealers for Lohen, ideally Dark Mode Durin. In that team with Lohen, Durin and ideally Nicole, Lohen will apply enough cryo for Durin's burst hits in his Dark Mode to melt pretty consistently, which should result in pretty good team damage. Lohen's burst will use up all of his will to win points and deal multiple hits of cryo damage. That's it, so pretty straightforward. The Knight's passives add to his unique kit design. After using his skill, his talent level for his skill will be increased by 1 for a few seconds. And on top of that, if the skill level of any other party member's normal attack, skill or burst is not lower than Lohen's skill talent level, the duration of this +1 talent passive will be increased by 6 more seconds. Another passive says that when the party members accumulate will to win points while he is in his skill state and that damage reaches a specific number based on Lohen's base attack, Lohen will gain extra will to win points. Sounds complicated, but basically the higher off-field damage you get from your teammates, the better. Third, while in his skill state, when another teammate triggers a cryo reaction, their attack and Lohen's attack will be increased. And last but not least, for his Hexerei passive, when Lohen uses his special skill or burst and his will to win points are at least 50% of the max capacity, so his bar is half full, Lohen's normal and charge attacks will be increased as well. Geez, that was a lot of theory. In practice, Lohen has a pretty unique kit design, as he is an on-field carry who focuses more around the off-field sub-DPSs in his team than himself. His best teammate for now will be Durin, who is also on banner in Luna VII, but depending on what other future off-field damage dealers Hoyo will give us, he might become more versatile. While I am excited about his unique kit and would love to try it out, it seems like his best teammates are both Nicole and Durin, at least on release, and getting all 3 5-stars seems almost impossible, especially for F2Ps and with Snezhnaya around the corner, so I would have to skip him here. And lastly, there will also be a new 4-star character next patch, Prune. Prune is an animal catalyst user and will work as a buffer as well. She will count as a Hexerei character and can be an upgrade to Varka teams over Venti, depending on her constellations. Her normals are once again irrelevant, so let's start with her skill. Prune uses her hammer to deal animal damage. If she triggers a swirl reaction with that attack, her skill will be changed to a special mode. In that mode, her hammer will now be changed to the element she just swirled, and if you use her skill once again, she will now deal damage of that element with her hammer. So basically an infusion. So far so good. With her elemental burst, Prune will once again swing her hammer and deal animal damage, after which the hammer will enter Hunter Seeker mode. And in this mode, this Witch Lure Bell, so the hammer, will follow your active character around and attacks opponents nearby, dealing animal damage. And so far her kit sounds pretty underwhelming, as she can run Vivi for Restred and TDDS as a catalyst, but that's about it, right? Wrong. Wait for her passive talents. During her burst, after the hammer dealt damage in Hunter Seeker mode, if that damage triggers a swirl on an enemy, it will summon another hammer that will deal extra damage based on Prune's attack and will be of the swirled element once again, so basically another infusion type of mechanic. Now, after Prune hits an enemy with her infused hammer, whether that infusion comes from a skill or burst does not matter, other party members will gain the Tolling Rally effect for 5 seconds. When a party member now deals damage to an opponent, that damage will be increased based on Prune's attack by up to 50%. Now, that is a big buff for C0 4-star that can also run Vivi. As her Hexerei passive, if another Hexerei character who is affected by Prune's attack buff triggers an elemental reaction, Prune's attack is increased as well, and if that elemental reaction is a swirl reaction, meaning if your on-field character is Venti or Varka, their attack will be increased as well. TLDR. Prune is a 4-star version of Nicole's attack buff at C0 and can be Varka's best animal support. However, she is not limited to the Grandmaster and her kit can be pretty versatile. However, in order to get her full buffs, you will need to build a lot, and I mean a lot, of attack on her. Like, aim for 4000 plus, which can be difficult with 4-star catalyst weapons and basically impossible with TTTS. Basically give her Vivi and as much attack with the R as you can get and hope for the best. Her own damage is neglectable, but her buffs can be really strong, especially if you get more constellations on her. Now, the new characters are out of the way, so let's finally talk about the rerunning units. Starting out with Durin, who will get his first rerun. Durin is a versatile Pyro sub-DPS who has 2 playstyles and counts as a Hexerei character. In his light mode, he applies a lot of Pyro and shreds the resistance of Pyro, Animal, Geo, Electro and Dendro by up to 35% if paired with a second Witch. In his dark mode he deals less but stronger burst hits that are meant to be vaped or melted. So far, his dark mode didn't have many use cases, but with Lohen's release that will change. Since his release, Durin got a new artifact set with the Rising Wind set that focuses more on his damage, and with the new Cinderseal-like set, he will get a more supportive option as well. I got Durin on release and I do not regret getting him. He is not the strongest support in general and deals less damage than Inefa and does not heal or shield, but he is a more than solid sub-DPS with more than decent Restred and high versatility. You can run him in overload teams, mono pyro, burning or even burgeon, but I also like to combine him with Benefa and Sucrose for one of the strongest teams on my account. He is also in Vaaka's best team and will see an upgrade with the release of Nicole and Lohen. His skill generates a lot of energy, so he feels less awkward and Stygian than other burst-oriented units and is overall pretty good value. Still, if you have good pyro options already, he is no must-have character, and since Snezhnaya is not too far away anymore, I understand that saving your Primos is not the worst idea either. Speaking of Pyro 5 stars, Mavuika will also get her second rerun, and while the Pyro Archon is still one of few characters who can brute force shill Stygian content, she is not a brain dead pull anymore. Mavuika used to be the strongest DPS in the game, but was recently power grabbed by Zebai's elite team. Her best combos are not super easy to pull off, whether you want to melt with Sitlali or spam overload with Chevrus. Knowing and being able to pull off her animation cancels can make her a lot stronger, but it is not easy for more casual players and very hard on mobile. She is still a pretty versatile DPS and can work as a burst support for other Natlan carries, even though I would not get her just for that. However, while she is still a versatile carry, with the speed of power creep, her days in the meta are probably counted, and as a Claymore user her F2P weapon options are pretty bad, so same problem as Vaaka. If you already have her best supports like Sitlali or a C6 Yansan, getting her in 2026 might still be worth it for you, but I would not build a team around her from scratch at this point. Usually a strong character will slowly fall out of the meta after roughly 2 years, and Mavuika's release has been a minute already. Again, that does not make her a bad character by any means, but if your account is newish and you want to build a strong meta team from zero, getting Mavuika and waiting for C6 Yansan or Sitlali is probably not the best idea. I run my Mavuika on Tidal Shadow and I don't own Yansan on my account, unfortunately, which means I run her with Auron and Fischl in Overload or Xylonen, Bandit and Sitlali in Meld, and it's a big difference in damage. So if you are in a similar spot, the Luna carries will feel much better to play and deal more damage on an F2P investment level. However, if you happen to have her best teammates or even her weapon, she's still a top 5 DPS for sure and can save you in Abyss or Stygian even against shill bosses like the Radiant Moon Gecko. As a last thought before I move on, bear in mind that Natlan units will not rerun that much anymore once we enter Snezhnaya, and the new meta will probably be at least as strong as the Luna one. And with that, all the featured units for version Luna 7 are covered, which means it is now time for my F2P pull priority list. But before that, if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing, as it really helps me in creating more content like this, and it's free, so thanks. Alright, the usual disclaimer first. These lists are meant to help you in terms of meta and endgame investment, but that does not mean that you should not get a character just because you like them. Genshin is more than meta and tier lists, so feel free to ignore my advice, it's not that serious. However, if you want the most value for your primos, here are my lists. Account number 1. You got Vaaka and want him to deal more damage. If that's the case for you, I would strongly recommend either Nicole or Durin. It depends a bit on who you have, but I would get Nicole first, as she can give you a shield, which enables Serpent Spine if you happen to have the Battle Pass weapon, and can run the new artifact set for damage bonus. If you get lucky and get her early, you could consider going for Durin as well, as he is a versatile sub DPS and very strong for Vaaka. But Chevrus at C6 or Bandit are good 4-star alternatives as well. The third slot would go to Mavuika, as she will not do anything for the Grandmaster, and Lohen would be 4th because he takes his best supports, it seems like. Account number 2. You are a returning player and don't have any of the Luna carries or current top tier damage dealers. In that case, you have 2 options. Option 1, go for Mavuika. This will also depend on the 4-stars on her banner, so if Yansan and or Chevrus get another rerun, her value increases significantly, but either way, she is the only character you should really consider in Luna 7. Option 2, would be to skip this patch entirely and save for the Naya meta that might be coming sooner than later. The second new artifact set indicates a new archetype already, so there's that. Durin and Nicole are good, especially if combined, but you would still be lacking a DPS and Vaka would need his signature weapon, so overall the team core is too expensive if you want to tackle the hardest form of endgame fast, so either Mavuika or skip. And account number 3, you are a new player who wants to fight early game. The same rule applies, I would recommend Mavuika. If you just need a 5-star for combat early on, who is also nice for exploration, you can't go wrong with her. Again, Nicole and Durin are not bad, but not as strong on their own. Durin would still be second slot in my opinion, as you can already pair him with many other characters and 4-stars like Fischl, Sucrose or Prune. Nicole is a bit more niche right now, and again, Lohen seems rather reliant on strong 5-star supports like Durin and Nicole, so I would only get him if you also have these two, or at least one of them, in order for him to feel good and deal a lot of damage. When it comes to Nicole's value, I expect her stocks to go up. Maybe she will even be best in slot for Alice, but while she is a nice to have character, she is no meta breaking must pull or anything like that, at least not right now. And with that, I am done for the day. I'm excited about the new units and Luna VII as a whole. I hope this video helped you in making your poll decisions, and if so, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. If you have any more questions about the new characters, you can ask me in the comments down below, and also let me know who you're gonna pull for next. Personally, I will probably try my luck on Nicole, as I already have Durin and Mavuika, and I really like her design. Plus I expect her to be more versatile than many players think, especially in the future, so fingers crossed I get her early. Alright, and with that, thanks again for watching, good luck on your pulls, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!